Anyway, so in 2017 I was 12, and so basically, I don't know if I want to get into like the whole story of it because it's still kind of personal, but I will say my dad did have like some health conditions at the time, and 3 years prior he already kind of had surgery for it, and I was young, and I was 9, so didn't really know much about it then, but then it didn't really like catch up on him until like 3 years later, and then it just eventually caught up to him and he ended up passing away. Because the surgery he had 3 years prior was, I guess, only 2% could actually survive it. That's what we were told.
At 2%?
It was something like that. It was like a low percentage. And so I wasn't told any of this because I was young and no one wanted to really tell me about it. But it didn't really happen to him until like 3 years later. And then he ended up passing away on November 8th of 2017. And that's kind of like where my life changed forever at that point. And then, because, I mean, I was fortunate enough for some portion of my childhood I never really like experienced. I had a somewhat of a happy childhood. Just it kind of got ruined with all the family members I was losing, and specifically my grandpa and my dad, two people I looked up to, and still do to this day, even though they're not around. But yeah, it kind of jacked me up for a little bit. And again, I was young, and I didn't really allow myself to really grieve it until probably during the pandemic, like during quarantine. That's when I like really grieved it. And but in 2019, I was just so down, and I got to the point where I was like suicidal. And this was way before I started my channel. Even though I did start my channel in 2019. But then I only used it for like a coping mechanism, because my videos weren't even good. I just recorded stuff to just record stuff. So, but I will say I did have a suicide attempt, and when I say that, I'm not fucking lying, because if I was lying about it, then that would make me a piece of shit. I actually did attempt it. And it's better to talk about now than it was for. I didn't really start to like open up about it till probably last year, I think. Because for a while, for a good 2 years, it was hard to really talk about until I got more comfortable talking about it, since it was kind of pretty much my story. I was 14. It was April of 2019. And I was at the point where I was like, I'm fucking done. Like, I can't do this. Like, and this was back when I was still kind of getting bullied at school too. And just like when I was at school, I just felt like I didn't belong. I didn't really have anybody. And then my whole family situation was fucked up. And so one night, when I was home alone, I just couldn't really do it anymore. And then, but of course, I was afraid of anyone finding out about it. So I was trying to do it in the least noticeable way possible. Like, I thought of cutting, but I never cut it because I knew people would find out right away. And I wasn't going to like overdose with like drugs or anything, or like pills, because I knew that would also be too obvious. So what I did was I took a bath, and I put it to the hottest point to where I was too overheated and too exhausted to get out, and I filmed the tub up to the rim of the tub. And so I just laid there, and then I just like waiting out, and then at that point I was just like, I kept giving myself like deep breaths because I was going to push my head underneath to the bottom of the tub, and I was going to force my head down and just hold my head there until I eventually drowned myself. And so when I was doing that, a lot of shit was going through my head in the middle of it, and it didn't get to the point to where like and it's got to the point where like I actually have a fear of drowning because I technically kind of almost experienced it. I just remember just like laying there, and then like like for the longest point you're underwater, your chest like gets so tight to the point to where it freaking hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Because you literally can't breathe, and and I remember at that point I was just in complete fucking agony because I was like shaking my head and shit because I was in so much pain that because obviously I couldn't breathe, I was underwater. And it wasn't until it felt like my dad was talking to me, because that's what it literally felt like. And so it was like he was saying, what is this? Because it also like he was saying exactly this. What is this going to benefit anything? What is everyone that in your family going to think about, like, that you're going to when they just lost me? And it's like, what do you think your mom's gonna think? What do you think your brother or sister? What do you think everyone that loves you gonna think that you're gone when they just lost me, just lost me? And then that like hit me, and then I remember like I opened my eyes underwater, and and everything was just so fucking blurry because I was like at the verge of being dead. So and I remember and I just remember like barely like when I was almost done, I shot my head up out of the water, and I gasped for a lot of air because I about drowned. And I just remember I just broke down crying, and then I remember I drained it, and I still laid in there for like a good 10 minutes until I got out. Whew. Yeah, I got a little choked up talking about that, but yeah, that's kind of like my story on that. And it's the only time I attempted it, but still in my head, I still think about it. Because even now, it's still hard to take baths, because I like taking baths, but then it's up to the point, because I still like to hold my breath underwater just because it's soothing,
Mm-hmm. I do that.
So I still do that, but then again, it's at that point to where, like, I think about that, and I was like, no, I can't do that. And then some days I'm just like, well, what's the point of living, But yeah, and it's been 3 years since then. And and that was like in the upstairs bathroom at that time, because I still lived upstairs at that time. So whenever I go in there, I still kind of think about that. But yeah, but yeah, so, and then it also kind of got really bad again throughout the pandemic the year after.
Yeah, because everyone was inside, everyone's parents, or they were freaking out themselves about getting this sickness going around. To the point where like everyone was so like torn up between that whole thing, but so then everyone just kind of like the people who just did stay inside,
Yeah,
ended up going fucking crazy.
But yeah, that's pretty much my story on that, and I mean, to this day, I still think about it, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to act out on it, some days I think about it, but at the same time, it's like...
Oh no, it's like me wanting to shoot up my school, but I never did it.
But yeah, just because now I'm more aware of that, like, sometimes I'm still like, I still have to be here because I feel like I still have to be here for other people. Because I know that there's a lot of people who come to me for shit, and But yeah, so. But yeah, and then like not only that, but like last year was also pretty bad with, my shit, with my mental shit, because it got to that point to where like it got to the point where, because I told you this, where I felt like I was repeating this, like every day was the same for like almost a year. And then like, because I remember people telling me like, oh Jacob, you've changed so much, you've matured, and like they're like things are like seem to be going well for you. But then when they said that, I didn't believe it, because everything felt exactly the same compared to like early 2021, and it felt that way until the end of 2021. And I still feel that to this day, but not as bad as I do now. as I did last year. But the only time I start to feel that way is when I'm in here, and then that's when I kind of drive myself crazy. But at the same time, I think that's also part of it is that I isolate myself here a lot. Especially in this room, my bedroom.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
But yeah, I feel like I've talked a bit much.
No, you're good.
Trapping.